There you go. Good morning. You right, Fraser?
Not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Combining working from home or working from as you can see here with homeschooling today. So just put the Lion King on for the kids for the next few minutes. Educational.
Yeah.
I think I'll try and get around it that way. So hopefully that'll keep quiet. We may be interrupted during the podcast, but we'll adapt. How about yourself? Have you still been having inquiries and things like that in the last week?
No, I mean, no, they haven't got much inquiries. What it's more is dealing with the aftermath of postponing events and cancelling events and answering people's queries.
James, obviously that's more your short-term things. I know you've got like the 3 peaks and stuff lined up for September and things like that. What's you're anxious about them now? At what point do you make a decision on them?
Yeah, do. Even looking at September, what we've got is what we touched on last week with Sarah and the Ironman training and the swimming, but it's pretty much training for everything. If you do a cycle sportif in September, 70 miler or 80 miler, are people going to be able to get that sort of distance in their legs? I have been looking at sort of training regimes that you can do for cycling without actually doing the distance, which isn't the same. It's based on a CrossFit type training where you blast the turbo trainer for an hour, then you get off the bike and you do box jumps, you do deadlifts, you do bunny hops, you do squats and heavy weights if you've got them, and then you get back on the bike and get your hour out and blast that for an hour. So it's a way of training to get the distance in your legs. Not quite the same. And not the same feeling for people, and that's not why people, go cycling. I
find it quite interesting at the moment. Listening to different people's perceptions. I think to take a positive from a negative during this lockdown, I think the lesser active people are almost doing more exercise now than they were before. I say lesser active for want of a better phrase, because people have been given this freeway of one outing, if you like, a day, whether it be a walk or a run. People necessarily weren't going out before are now going out, because they almost feel obliged to, and I've spoken to a lot of people who said they're walking a couple of miles a day with their kids, for example, whereas before they wouldn't have bothered. It's almost for some people, I think this is almost, the notion of setting in now, the need to get a bit of daily exercise. But then at the other end of the scale, you're talking your more, elite and serious athletes who obviously maybe don't just have the one discipline to train for, who need more than a bit of fresh air and half an hour jog around the block during the day. That's where the frustration comes in, because as you've just touched on there, the more complex events and serious events, you can do all you like at home, and there's a lot of people sending out home workouts. You can have all the equipment at home, but it never really replicates something like an Ironman or even a 3 peaks, or like you say, a 70, 80 miles sportif, does it?
No, it's not. It's it's difficult, but I just don't know what's going to happen at the end of this year, and I what the confidence people will have to go back and do it. So I mean, if they lift sort of the restrictions that are on us now, how confident will sort of smaller communities be to have an event where you're saying, all right, we're going to bring in 500, 600 people to the area. You'll get resistance from the community who might be thinking, well, hang on, because they'll still be apprehensive about, the virus and the spread of it. You'll have some people in the community who'll be welcoming it because they'll want their businesses to have the benefits of it. But I mean, all we can do is just look at the government guidelines and what's in place and follow that. If they're saying the advice is not to have gatherings of so many, we won't do that, and that's all we can do.
I think that's maybe a point that a lot of people are missing. A lot of people are speculating, unless this is happening as time goes on, but people are speculating about resumption dates for all sports. But I think people don't quite realise that the time it's going to take to reassemble once those resumption dates are given, or once we're supposedly clean out the other side of this, is going to take a long time, especially for for local smaller sports and events and things like that. And like you say, you've probably, companies like yourself have probably got to then go back to looking at advertising and drumming up interest again, because you don't know how many people who are in the swing of, for example, example, MUUK events and entering them and looking forward to move, maybe might have dropped away from that now in the months to come. So it's going to be for, like yourself and a lot of other companies and sports clubs and so on, it's going to be a case of having to not restart, but having to go back to getting some momentum in again and redrumming some interest and getting their name out again. So I don't think even if the government was to come out in 2 months' time, hypothetically, and say, right, we're out the other side of this, stop isolating, it's not going to be a case of clicking fingers and all local sport or national sport going back to normal, is it?
No, no, it's not at all. And I say, you look at different things. I've started my new sport now. My training was dodgeball. We had myself, Harvey, and Alfie had a 3-way dodgeball competition in the back garden, and I got to say, I am sore. It's like I've played 80 minutes of rugby. My legs are battered and bruised. I think the boys took quite pleasure of throwing a ball at me as hard as they could. So yeah, that was our PE lesson. A bit sore, right? I just want to clarify something from last week as well. Obviously, touched a nerve when I said about you with your rugby that I didn't think you the confidence. I'm going to give you an example now, right? Before we move on to our guest, Pembrokeshire away. We'd started the season. I think you were captain. We'd started the season. We didn't have a point to our name. We were 0 points, bottom of the table. First half, we were stuffed. I can't remember the score, but the game was over by half time. Second half started, a bit of a comeback. I think, if I remember rightly, I intercepted the pass on the on maybe our 22, possibly the 10-metre line. And I went the whole distance of the field, handing off every single player, because obviously every single player caught me up, so I had to hand them off before diving over to score to restart our season. But in that game, the last play, referee called last play, there was a scrum on the halfway line.
We were on 3 tries.
We were 3 tries, so we needed 1 more try to get a bonus point. I was number 8. I looked up and I could see they brought on a number 6 who didn't want to be there, and their winger didn't want to be there either. He was way out of position, and I thought, we had a little move going down the blind side.
Yeah.
I'll say the name of it because we've used it since I was in youth. So if anyone doesn't know it now, they're never going to know it. So White Sands, I said White Sands. I was number 8. You were scrum half, which meant I pick up, I go blind, I suck in the number 6, I give it to the scrum half, who then runs down the blind channel. The winger either comes into him, he gives it to the winger, our winger scores, or the scrum half scores. We used it for 25 years. I think it only ever worked once. But I was confident, and I said, phrase, White Sands, and you said, no, give it to the backs. I said, no, I said, knowing the speed you had and the outside, there's a big gap there on the blind side. I said, no, go for it. No. The backs are going to move. Backs are screaming for the ball. And I said, have confidence, go for it. No. So I packed down. You were captain. I thought, well, fair enough. Packed down at 8. You put the ball in. As it was at my feet, I heard you say, we'll go for it. So I picked it up, went blind. Perfect execution of the move. You got it straight down the blind side. No one touched you. Scored in the corner. We got our bonus point. Kick-started our season. Went on to a really good season from next year. I turned the turning of the whole club's fortune on that move.
We got off the mark, yeah. No, I did think... I did have a think after we spoke last week. Not quite for 7 nights, but I spent a couple of nights thinking about it. I think you maybe did have a point. I thought back to other times coaches in Midlands and Leslie who said, who lambasted me for going inside too much and not having the confidence to go outside players when one-on-one, So, yeah, I did accept in begrudgingly that you might have had a point there.
Yeah. Well,
but I remember that Pembrokeshire moment too, so yeah, I'll let you have the credit for that one. I remember the moment.
Yeah. As we were talking about confidence and sort of... people's inner strength and stuff like that. Our next guest that we're having on is Rich Simpson, who is the man, a bit of ex-military, bit of an ultra runner. He did our marathon, the Cotes, first time we ran the event, which is the whole Pembrokeshire Coast path, 186 miles in 3 days, which at the time, and still is now, the quickest known time for anyone to complete it. Gruelling course.
Official recorded time.
Yeah, that's the official recorded time. Is gruelling course. The whole Pembrokeshire Coast path is, 30-odd thousand feet of elevation. Over 3 days, it's 60-odd miles a day. He did that, and fair play to him. We have had one other person do it since, but it's a hell of a task, and he's gone on. He's done some pretty hearing stuff. So really want to get him on, get his views on that, and also, here's a man I'd imagine who's coping with isolation quite well with some of the stuff that he's done in the past. So. Yeah, so we'll get him on now and see what he's got to say. Hello. Oh, still ringing, Rich. Oh, Rich. You right?
What you doing?
Your photo there, your screen photo, is a very handsome man there in that. In your WhatsApp photo, I got to say, you look very dashing.
This is the first image I've ever seen of you indoors, Rich.
It's not used to it.
How are you coping with it?
I'm okay, thank you. So I'm sat like a cat in the window, just peering outside. I'm doing fine. I'm keeping with my routine, and I'm up at 5 a.m. every morning doing my 10k before breakfast. So I'm out and about, keeping on top of things.
We were just saying that a lot of people are getting out and they're getting their, hours exercising that they're allotted, which is all right for most, and is a novelty for a lot. But for ultra runners or people training for, big sportifs and things like that, an hour outside is not much at all, really, is it?
Well, no, it's not, and it's quite difficult. I've had to change all my my normal runs. Obviously, the Pembrokeshire Coast path is completely closed down. Yeah. And a lot of people like myself and other runners, we're kind of stumped and having to go on roads. And I don't own any road trainers, so I'm having to wear down my trail shoes. But there are some runs around here, and I've been going onto the Clear Valley.
Yeah.
Pass along there, and I've been able to do some runs, and it's as close as I can get, and some decent sort of trails around there.
Yeah, I know, it's the same down here. I'm finding all the old paths and bridleways and things that run in between little villages, and just sort of exploring new paths, which I don't think hardly anyone uses around these locations, because you've always got the coast path, which is always such a nicer view, isn't it, and such a good location.
And I've been exploring some new paths in the area, but been chased away by cows.
Yeah.
To be really cool where you can go.
Well, funnily enough, I went out this morning and I managed to source a couple of 10k routes. Finton gave me a couple on roads. I did the same route the other morning. I didn't see a single person. I thought, right, this is great. I'll have this one to myself. Yeah. I went this morning and I was held up for 5-10 minutes by about 300 cows crossing the field. So just a reminder that in some forms normal life is going on. So I'm going to have to start timing that now. I'm going to have to learn not to either to go earlier or before 7:15, 7:20. Otherwise I'm going to be held up every morning.
Yeah, you're going to miss the milking.
Because those cows can run.
yeah. And there's no way through either. There's no way through the path.
So,
are you actually training for anything in particular, Rich, when this whole lockdown and coronavirus pandemic started? Did you have an event in mind that you entered?
Well, this year, I took a year off last year, but I did want to do Finn's around the coast, Marathon de Cote again, and because it was painful watching it last year. I was watching last year, I was thinking, blimey, I know where they are, and that's a gorgeous part, and I'd love to do that again. So I couldn't think of anything better to do than to go around the whole of the Pembrokeshire Coast again.
Yeah.
Really. So that was one of the things I was training for, and keeping on top of things, and all this part of waking up early at 5 a.m. That's all a part of that training. So my body's kind of conditioned to it. And I was wanting to do the spine race as well. And I had my name down, and then the bill came through, £1,000. I was like, £1,000? Nah. So I've put that on hold for a while until I win the lottery or something.
Which one's the spine race? Sorry, Rich?
The Montaigne spine race, so it runs the whole of the Pennine Way.
Yeah.
But during the winter, which is kind of my thing. I'd love to do that. Really love to do that.
Yeah. Well, fair play. Well, if we just backward step a little bit. Obviously, we've got you on and straight into a conversation here. Just, you've done a fair few ultras. Obviously, you've done our marathon, the Cote, the MDC, which is the whole Pembrokeshire Coast path. And I know you'd done Rasteau Sant a few times before that, the marathon. You'd done our 66 miler as well to hell and back. So I know you've done it.
That was hell.
That was hell. So you've done a few, obviously, events that I know that we've run. But what's your sort of background before that, and sort of where have you come from, and how have you got into this sort of mad way of life?
Well, the ultra running. Well, I mean, I spent a full career in the army, and I did some big expeditions, which we'll probably touch on later on. And then after that, I was kind of thinking, well, what are we doing now? I've done a few marathons before that in the time, and then this ultra marathon scene sort of appeared in front of me when I was searching, and thought, well, I'll have a go at that. And I did the Running for Life down in Llanelli. And that was 37 miles. I thought I gave that a go and did all right. But that was all on hard tracks and trails, and concrete and pavements and things. And I just preferred running on, mud, bogs, through the mountains along the coast. So much more rewarding. And so I just did that. And then the distances got longer and longer as I got more and more confident.
If you don't mind me asking, Rich, obviously you say you came out when you finished in the army there. It's like we hear a lot about sportsmen in all forms of sport, really, who when they've been involved in something which has been so intense over a long period of time, which I assume the army is, and they come out of that, and suddenly there's a big void there. It's almost, what do I do next? We see, for example, a lot of boxers, struggle post-career and stuff. Did moving into these hazardous, for want of a better word, events and these extreme events, that fill a big void for you that had been there in the army, where you had obviously so much adrenaline and so many gruelling expeditions involved?
It did, yeah. So the last big sort of major expedition was coming back from the Antarctic, and it was an exploratory expedition, and we were climbing new mountains that had never been climbed before, mapping out new areas and all sorts of that, and then to come back after an expedition like that. I mean, what do you do? So I needed these challenges, and so the ultra marathons that certainly filled that void that you're talking about. It certainly did.
And say the Antarctica, those expeditions were with the army when you were still military based, right?
Yeah, it was the British Services Antarctic expedition back in 2012. But that was a large scale expedition.
How many of you were on that, Rich?
There was just 24 of us.
Yeah.
From all across the services. And
how long were you out there?
We went out in December and came back in mid-March, end of March.
Yeah. And what sort of living conditions like there then? Obviously, is that all?
So it's in there summertime.
Yeah.
We had like big tents and stuff, but we were always living on the ice. But there was no running water, so everything had to be melted down. And even though it's summertime, it never went above 10 degrees. So it's always pretty flipping cold, and like -40, -50 in the wind chill that we had. And sometimes we had to lay down in the corners of our tents just to keep them down from flying away. It's quite scary some of the time.
I mean...
So how are you coping with this isolation then?
How we cope with this isolation?
Yeah, how are you coping with lockdown then? Drinking your tea there and...
Well, I mean, yeah, so I think people like myself and veterans, they'd find this probably quite normal. So when waste systems going in and out of shops and stuff, and then having to sanitise your hands and the equipment, it's all very normal on operations. They've got quite a strict regime of cleaning your hands and stuff before you go into the cookhouse and coming back out. And you can't just wander around. You can't just you leave your compound and go for a walk out in the countryside, because you'll get shot at. And so much in the same way, if you wander around out there, you can end up getting caught with COVID. It's a different sort of enemy, but the rules are very much the same, and I feel quite comfortable with it all. I've got to say, and to be at home, relaxing, doing what I want to do is it's quite a treat actually.
Fair play.
I mean, to the likes of myself, and I think what you just described there sounds like almost like living hell, that expedition to the Antarctica. But obviously got to dig very deep, I imagine, into yourself to get through things like that. How much does that benefit you long term, mentally, if nothing else? Because you go through periods there, and I've watched a few documentaries on sporting teams of late who have gone out to these kind of extreme training camps where I've had a bit of time on my hands, so I've had just where coaches have done it to build mental strength and to make them dig deep, and they go through these periods where they don't want to be there, and they hate each other, they hate themselves, and all they want to do is get home, but they've all come out of it afterwards. I saw one on the England cricket team yesterday, but on the route to becoming number one in the world, and they all came out afterwards and said long term it did them a lot of benefit, because it almost told them whenever they had to dig deep in a cricket sense or any other sense they could, they always related back to that. Do you find that?
Yeah, definitely. So most people are aware of the comfort zones and stretch zone and panic zones, and so being in these difficult and uncomfortable situations, my comfort zone has grown and grown and grown and grown and grown and grown. Yeah, and so the stretch zone is quite narrow, and so is the panic zone. And so, for example, when I was skiing, we were all roped up going across heavily crevassed terrain, but in complete whiteout. And so I'm probing forward, expecting to plop through crevasse in the snow at any time and dangle there. It's quite flipping scary. As it's going on patrol and stuff, and doing this, time after time after time, and then getting caught out, and then having to self-recover after falling down 3 or 4 meters or so into a crevasse, and then trying back out again. It's uncomfortable and scary, and these bad experiences, and where you're into that panic area and stretch area, you come out of it alive, learn from them, and think, well, there you go, that wasn't so bad really. Now once you've had a cup of tea and come through it. So yeah, I do, and then in bad times I can draw back on those experiences, and I think, yeah, it's not as bad as that time, not as bad as this time, so I can just crack on.
And what about the people you're with there? Because obviously you all have to work together, day in, day out on something like that, I assume. There are inevitably in a group going to be 24 with people you don't like, people you don't want to be there with. How do you handle that? Does that all go out the window when you're all there, or do you just end up almost hating everyone? If that makes sense, does it get to that? Yeah, or are there people you're closer to than others?
Yeah, we were in a tent of 4, so we worked together as a small team, a tent of 4, and then able to work together with other teams, other tent groups, if needed be. But we spent the whole expedition training, it was about 3 years, 2.5, 3 years. And the final year of training, we were together pretty much all the time. And so we knew each other in and out, pretty much. And we did all sorts of character testing of how you perceive yourself in certain situations, and how your colleagues may see yourself during those same situations. So, oh, blimey, yeah. So I'm not much of a hero like I thought it was, or how I perceive myself to be. It's actually, Rich, you're a bit rubbish there. So we knew each other pretty well, and in our tent group, being able to tolerate each other, we got on really, really well.
Was there
if somebody's having a bad time, it's right, mate. You stay there for now. I'll go out and get the snow, and I'll melt it all down and get the bruise on. You stay where you are. I'll go and get the cook on and this, that, and the other. We just help each other out, and we just sensed when each other was in a bad way.
For that expedition then, prior to you saying the build-up, I appreciate you're in the army and there's different levels of fitness and stuff like that amongst soldiers there. Did you have to meet a required fitness standard to go on that trip, or was that part of it as well?
Oh yeah, no. I spent a lot of time on Broad Airfield dragging tyres around, on a harness. No Fitness there's quite a tough fitness regime. We had Air Force and Army PTIs and Marines, small Marines, setting up a FIS program to follow. So yeah, it's pretty hardcore what we had to do.
And what was the aim of the expedition? What was the sort of end goal, or what were you looking to achieve from it?
Yes, so this was back in 2012, and it was the Antarctica expedition in the spirit of Scott. So Scott the Antarctica, that was 100 years since his last great expedition. So Scott, as well as being an adventurer and a mountaineer, he was a scientist. So we went to the Antarctic to explore a new area, and at the same time work with the British Antarctic Survey and help them out. So us as mountaineers and them as scientists, we could go to places and do experiments where they couldn't normally go with their lesser mountaineering experience. And so we were a part of the peninsula, and we found bare rock, and we bolted on GPS receivers, because that part of the world at that time was heating up 10 times faster than the rest of the world. And so the amount of ice that forms and melts actually makes the land flex. And with that data that gets transmitted back, they can work out how much ice has been formed and how much the rate of melt. So it's actually quite important. And other things that we're doing, we had a boat, small boat, and that would go and take the scientists and do sea dips and all sorts of things to take out all the sea creatures. So there's quite a lot of science going on. But,
that's amazing.
Ultimately, it was a mountaineering expedition.
Yeah.
And we got to name quite a few places.
So on, as personally, then until this sort of coronavirus sort of hit everything, there's a massive drive on global warming and the environment, and everyone doing their bit for the planet. Having been down there and in that environment there, where they say a lot of the problems are coming in the two poles, well, that's where they're being hit hard. Yeah. Did it open your eyes to the environment and to we need to do a bit more for the planet from what you saw?
Very much so. Yeah, very much so. And it was a stunning part of the world, and the creatures, the animals down there, still, they're not scared of human beings at the moment, but the environment itself, there's some subtle changes. And we went to the Antarctic Survey base on the way out as we were heading home, and we're speaking to scientists there. And already the scientists were saying, look, to be honest, the world's tipped over the edge already, as far as they're concerned. From what they've seen, from the way the fish and the sea life were growing and having to change. That's already gone, they reckon. But anything that we do now will slow down that process, and hopefully it can heal itself. But
hopefully this.
It's quite scary.
Yeah.
It's quite scary. It's quite scary speaking to them about it.
Yeah, that is. That sounds amazing, mind. But I suppose this process we're in now, is a little bit of a chance for the earth to have a breathe, really, and the wildlife and the environment and the air. So if one good thing comes out of it, hopefully, the planet has a little bit of a chance to reboot. But
I hope so.
I mean, so. I mean, you've been to a few other mountainous regions as well, haven't you? Mountain expeditions.
Yeah. So before that, in 2007, I got into a Himalayan trip. That's where I really learnt all my sort of big expedition mountaineering skills. We wanted to be the first British team to ski mountaineer off an 8,000 metre peak in Tibet. And that was another big expedition. We went out in August and came back in October. And that's mainly because of the altitude. We were staying up at 5,500 metres for a long period of time. And so it takes a long time for the body to condition itself. But that was a ski mountaineering expedition. And that was epic. That was yeah, that's when I was in my panic zone for about 90% of the time. And travelling along, ultimately we started making a summit attempt, and it takes days actually to get higher and higher. Some 5,500 metres. We trek 5 or 6 kilometres up a glacier on the edge of a moraine and things, and then to the next camp, which is at 5,600 metres, and then you go to cross the Penitentes, which is like the shark's teeth of ice that you see in the Himalayas, crossing the glacier, and that's over a kilometre of constantly going up and down, ice climbing up, ice climbing down, jumping across pools and things, up towards 6,000 metres. Stop over there, and the next little bit was going up to 6,500 metres, and then 7,000 metres. Then eventually we would have gone up to 8,000 metres. Only that we got to 6,500 metres, and the weather came in, and we had to dig our tents out. They were kind of three-quarter sort of buried in the snow drifts.
Yeah.
And dig in, and we'd dig in, and it's exhausting because you're at 6,500 metres, and the air's pretty thin. And bearing in mind that we're at a low pressure weather system anyway, so there's even less air being sucked out because of the weather system. We were just exhausted, so we had to go into our tents and just rest. And then all around us, you could hear the wind, and then the mountain avalanching all around us. So some terrifying sounds. And then about 2 a.m, our tent collapsed on top of us. It had a horrific crump noise, and my mate, Geordie, he screamed thinking we'd been avalanched. So we had to do a big bear hug, and Geordie, we're all right. Come on, tents just collapsed. And then so we gathered our things together one at a time. I was holding the tent up while my mate was putting his sleeping bag and his food and his rations and stuff into it. And he did likewise. And then we had to crawl out and punch through the tent and find another abandoned expeditions tent and stay in that for the next day or so.
I mean, obviously that's real life or death stuff. We're not just, people might say life or death situation, but we are talking serious stuff there.
That was quite serious. Yeah, so we stayed there for that day, and that storm wasn't abating. So we had to put all our gear on, the proper sort of noddy suits on, all proper wrapped up, just eyeballs showing. And then we had to attempt to ski down, and that was, oh my God, you couldn't tell which way is up or down. Really scary. And then on the way down, we'd found out that some porters had been missing, and we bumped into them. Really lucky how we found them. So I gave them my radios, told them how to use it, told them where the broken tents were, but there was some food in there. So we got in contact with their base camp expedition, and we ended up getting down, and we were in pretty bad order when we got off that mountain. By the time we went down, 1,000 metres across those penitentes, down, in the next 6 kilometres in the dark to the base camp. That's pretty epic.
Two things.
That's right.
But obviously, you're able to laugh about it now. You said you're calling there thinking that you're perhaps being avalanched. But what's it like when you do have to settle down and go to sleep? It is a possibility that an avalanche could come. Thankfully in that situation it didn't. And then can you rest up knowing that you're probably one avalanche away from death almost? I don't want to use the word, but when you are living on the edge of life, this whole time throughout the expedition. Okay.
So
I'm trying to homeschool at work. Yeah.
Fair play. We do put the tents in places where we're not expecting to get avalanched. But what can happen is that the spin drift from that avalanche can come down and affect it quite badly. And that's probably what happened.
But is that in the back of your mind the whole time that you're risking life here on these expeditions?
Oh yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean the danger's all around you and underneath you.
How many of you were on that trip then?
That was a bit smaller. There was 18 of us.
18.
And then just coming back to again, just explain for people who maybe aren't aware of what it's like, the difference in, I was going to say competing, that's probably not the right word, but the difference in working in altitude levels like that and temperatures as low as that and the effects on your breathing as opposed to just being down ground at normal sea level.
Oh right, okay. Well, so simple things like breathing. Now we spent a long time at 5,000. So if we were plucked from here and taken to 5,000 metres, which is the Tibetan plateau, you would die within minutes. A horrible, painful death. There's so little oxygen in the air. It's not enough to sustain lives. So it takes a long time. So, but once you've done the slow getting up, beforehand we went to the Swiss Alps and we just hung around 4,000 metres, breathing in the thin air. Come on, breathe in the thin air so your body starts producing more red blood cells. And then we went to Kathmandu and did a 10-day trek getting higher and higher, 4,500 metres, and then back down again. So again, the body's conditioning. And then there's a long drive, a long journey up onto the Tibetan Plateau to 5,000 metres, and we stayed there for a few more days. And at 5,000 metres, it was quite hard work. We then had an 18 kilometre trek uphill just to 5,500 metres, and that 500 metres in difference affected a lot of people. And one guy had to be taken back down on breathing apparatus, sit back down at base camp at 5,000 metres for another few days to recover. And it's like, so sometimes you can get buried in your duvet, and you have to untangle yourself. But to do that inside a sleeping bag at 5,500 metres, I was proper panicking because I couldn't breathe. It's just not an affair. It's like a horrible, horrible feeling of suffocation.
How long does it take you to cover 18 kilometres? Because some of the times I see in those, it takes ridiculous times.
Oh yeah, no, it's a state that took all day.
Yeah,
that took all day. We started early o'clock, and we were there by dark o'clock.
Yeah, it's a slow process.
Yeah. It's a slow process, and a lot of people find it quite frustrating. So there's a lot of good mountaineers out there that won't do the extreme high altitude expeditions because it is so much hanging around. Yeah,
I always find that as well. Is you obviously have to go up to acclimatise, to come back down, to go up, to come back down. So it's not like you're just going there to climb a mountain. You just go up in one hit and you come back down. You have to, back and forth.
Yeah, you climb high then sleep low.
Yeah, crazy. Fair play. So
you've got to be well prepared by the time marathons are coming around.
That's what I was just about to say. I was going to say. So how did you manage to cope with Marathon in the Cote? But now I can see that it was probably a walk in the park, literally.
Well, again, some condition. I mean, yeah. So the hard times, I knew there would be, but physically to be able to run those distances and the times, that took a lot of preparation. And so, from when I was doing those smaller ultra marathons, Jura Residue, Sants, and that hell and back. Oh my God, the hell and back. I was physically and kind of mentally prepared.
Yeah, I mean, because obviously the Marathon in the Cote, just to obviously explain it to the people in full, is we start at 4:00 in the morning in St Dogmaels, the north section start of the Pembrokeshire Coast path, and you go for about 66 miles till you get to Carfai. You've got to get there by midnight, and then you have a 4-hour compulsory rest, and then we go again at 4:00 in the morning, and then you get to just by Pembroke Dock, which is another 60 odd miles, and you've got to get there by 12 o'clock, and then midnight, and then the next day you start again at 4 o'clock, and you go again. But I mean, what we've seen, it is. I mean, and the last day is quite relatively small. It's only 58 miles, But what we see is, what I've seen is the rounds we've done it, and the people who've taken it on, is that you were by far the most organised and well prepared person. You knew the tides. There was obviously a tidal issue that had to be met. You knew exactly what you had to do there. Your kit organisation, because when you have ultra runners and people turn up for these events, they have all the kit, flashy bags, this, that, and the other, all branded. You turned up with sort of 3 bags that we took around for sports, which were your bags for life from the shop. Just had everything laid out in it, and when you got into every aid station, you said, the blue bag, I want this, I want that. You knew exactly what you wanted. Your organisation and then your knowledge of the course and everything like that was a massive part, I thought, in you in completing that. And again, saying about the kit, because when the weather came in and we had bad weather on the second day, you came into Freshwater West, and the kit you had on was just perfect. You were dry underneath it. It was good quality. So your Gore-Tex, your lightweight stuff, and you had a smile on your face. The weather wasn't great. It was sideways rain, wind on the coast, but you looked really comfortable. So, you know, I take it the organisation of that and the knowledge of what you were going to face comes from your previous experience, really.
It does, yeah. And you know what, those bags were very important because each bag was a day.
Yeah.
So I knew that each day there's everything there for me to sustain myself. Yeah, underwear, socks, a lot, the food, the nutrition, fluids, the drink packs and everything. It was all in there. And so when day one was done, everything came off. Shorts, t-shirts, a lot. Day two, opened up. There's my shorts, my t-shirts, socks, everything. And so psychologically, day one done. Forgotten about, moving on.
Yeah.
2 bags left.
Were there any aspects or took you by surprise, so Rich? I know, like you said, you've done so many extreme things anyway, but obviously this was a new thing. Was there anything you found difficult or gave you particular trouble?
Yeah, so the amount of plants. So it's done in June time, isn't it? Some of the foliage was outrageous. It was like jungle warfare. And wading through these plants really slowed you down. What should have been a fairly straightforward sections was just a nightmare. And I'm allergic to pollen. So it's not great for me to be literally covered from it head to toe. That was a real shock. I wasn't expecting it to be so. It was above my head in places, waist deep in most places, and that was a real shock to parts that I was expecting to be fairly straightforward.
But when you did get through it, and you obviously, I think you came. Remind me of the finish point again. Was it Angle?
Amroth.
Amroth. Sorry,
yeah.
Amroth. When you did get through and you came on, you could see the finish at Amroth, and you realised that the record was in sight and you had done it and you were about to do it. How did that feel? Were there emotions there?
Yeah, I was chuffed to pieces. Absolutely chuffed to pieces. I'm mostly for Finton and his team. They laid on this challenge and I was able to complete it, and that was really important. I took only one photo, and that was the top of Monkston Point.
Mm.
Yeah. You give them the thumbs up because behind me was the finish point. Shit burst. If I could walk, I'd get there in time. And so I was pleased then. But I was in quite a considerable bit of pain because my posture had broken down. But the knees, one of my knees stopped working properly, which I was quite cross about.
Yeah. And how did you feel after it? Obviously, once the following day, if I went for a 10k run now, I'd probably have to, have a bath and 2 days off, but how did you feel after it and the recovery and not just physically as well, the mental strain and effort put into it?
Yeah, well, physically I didn't get out of bed because I really needed to. I was self-isolating in bed. Absolutely no way was I moving anywhere. Unfortunately, we got an upstairs closet, so that saved me going downstairs because that would have been pretty, me trying to get downstairs. And mentally, I was just like, very satisfied, very happy to have done that.
Yeah.
It was lovely. Yeah, there's no feeling of at that time, straight afterwards, what else? As if nothing else mattered at that time.
Yeah. Because we had the conversation, I think, at the finish line, really, and I'd said that that's the fastest known time. It's recorded on the fastest known time website for someone completing it. And no one's come forward to show proof that they've done it any quicker than that. And I remember saying that to you, and you, the first thing you said was, someone will come along, next year and beat that time because. You said there's some really good ultra runners out there, and I've had people speak to me, about this as well, and people saying, so and so could do it faster than that, so and so could do it faster. They've done 100 miles on it, they've done this. I said, well, yeah, they could do, but they haven't. It's as simple as that. It's like anything, isn't it? There's a lot of people who say, yeah, I could do that better, or I could do it quicker, or I could do that, but. You haven't done it. But what I noticed from doing this event, and the big thing is where your experience previously would have come in as well, is the getting up and going again, because you can't run that whole section. I know people run 250 milers in one go, but to run the coast path, we couldn't run an event where you run continuously for that time, because the tiredness, the edge of the cliff, it would be beyond, you know, dangerous. So it's when people have to stop for that 4 hours, 5 hours break and get up and do it again. I think that's where the real mental strength comes in an event like this. You know, you've run 60 odd miles on really hard terrain. You've stopped, you've let your body cool down, you've let the aches and pains come through on your feet, you know, is swelling, and, you know, you're stiffening up, and then you've got to 4 hours, 5 hours, you've got to get up and do it again. I think that's where, you know, there's really good ultra runners out there, and really, you know, people, but you've got to be experienced in stage running. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, I do strongly agree with that. Yeah, and that getting up and going again, that is hard. And for me, it wasn't so much of fun, but, you know, sleeping in unusual places. You know, so first night was in the bunk.
Yeah,
and that's unusual for most people. But I was like, wow, yeah, brilliant, crash straight out, and then the tent in the field in Hundleton. That was amazing. The whole tent to myself. I was chuffed to pieces, but, you know, but it was quite austere, wasn't it? On that second night, and to start day 3, straight from that field was. Well, actually, I quite looked forward to that. I was ready to go, I think, come 4 o'clock. I mean, we started early, didn't we?
Yeah, it did.
And you're saying you entered again for this year, Rich? Did I hear that right?
Well, that's what I was wanting to do, yeah. But when it happens, I'm not sure. But
so in your head, was it a case of, I want to beat my time from last time? Is it just a case of finishing again, or do you want to go better still?
Oh, no, well, I mean, I can't think of anything else better to do. I was going to say, it's that 3 days running on the Pembrokeshire Coast with nothing else to think about is just brilliant. And I don't sound blasé about it. I reckon I probably would be able to beat my time now with the experience that I've had in between. So I've done the ultras in between and learnt from that last race. So, but yeah, I probably would finish day 3 in good order. But again, I still expect that there's other runners out there that I'd like to hope beat my time.
Yeah. Well, saying it's.
But that's it. But you said it, Finton. You know, there'll always be faster times, but I always got the first time, so I'm
yeah. You got the first.
I'm happy with that. Yeah.
Yeah, you got the first, and you know, and it's that's what's there to be beaten, isn't it? Like, you know, and I mean, you know, talking about whether we're going to run it again, we got a guy signed up who started last year from Holland, Edgar, and he's signed up. And I was speaking to him the other day, and he said, he's quite willing to come over if it's on again this year with everything's going on. But of all the events that we're doing, I was thinking, right, well, we can't run that. This is one that if they do lift the restrictions, I don't think social distancing is going to be a problem. You know, it's a very small team, and you're out there by yourself for a lot of that time. Like, you know, the field spreads quite quickly. The only thing is going back to what we started with, is how confident would people be that they've got enough training in their legs to do such an event? That's going to be the that's going to be the hurdle, really. I think it's something that, you know, we might be able to put on if restrictions come down because of the event. But realistically, what would your views on be if we said, right, you know, it's definitely going to go ahead in mid-June? What would your views on training-wise? Would you think, I'm not going to do it this year because I just can't guarantee I'm going to have the distance in my legs?
Oh, no. So no, that's not a problem. I've done about 500 miles this year.
Yeah.
500 miles this year. So so fitness-wise, yeah, not a problem. And mentally, I've already got it in the bag, you see.
Yeah. Well,
in fact, mentally in 3 bags.
Oh, fair play. Yeah, I was expecting you to come up with excuses then.
Event on.
Yeah. Well, it might just be you and Edgar then, like, you know. So, I mean, it is, you know, saying, I love that event. It's very small. Small numbers. But for us again, it's for me, and Ryan was with me the first year. Chris was with me last year. Spending those 3 days just out on the coast path, following people around. And making sure that, watching the tracker, seeing where they are, trackers stop moving, right, they're moving again, are they going to make this cut off? Just parking up somewhere and just waiting for these people and having a wander around. It's best 3 days of the year for me, it is a good event, and it's a tough one. I mean, how does that rate? Obviously you did the to hell and back, which was 66 miles in one go, which obviously you tried to go a bit quicker in that, I'd imagine, than you did in the first one. Where would that MDC sort of rate in the toughness of events that you've done?
Oh, that's by far the hardest I've ever done.
Yeah.
Last year I did the Beacons Way.
Yeah.
With GB Ultras. That was 102 miles. Starting at Abergavenny and finishing somewhere unpronounceable at the other end of the Brecon Beacons in Carmarthenshire.
Is it Slansworth or something? The actual Brecon Beacons Way, was it? The route?
The whole of the Beacons Way.
Yeah, I know it.
It's self-navving, 100 miles, 102 miles, go. And there's some fair big peaks in that. And then, 32 hours later I'd finished. And it was nowhere near as hard.
Yeah.
At a decent rate, if they said stop and do 20 press-ups and go back to the start again. that'd have been. But that Beacons Way, drawing on the experiences from Mountaineer Cote.
Yeah.
It was a breeze. Honestly, it was a breeze, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I came in fourth male, fifth overall, and that's my first 100 mile. Straight off 100 miles. Across pretty arduous terrain, I've got to say.
So that was continuous 100 miles then? No rest up stations. Did you? And it took you how long? 32 hours.
Yeah, 32 and a half hours or something. Yeah.
Did you stay awake for that totally, or did you sit down by a tree and grab 40 winks or something?
I sat down and ate pretty much a whole pizza.
Yeah.
and a massive custard slice.
Yeah.
So that did involve some. There were stations to stop. So that does include the station, stopping at stations and refueling and things.
Yeah.
But I never stopped and had a nap.
You never napped, no?
Well, I did. I did have a nap, but I was on the edge of a cliff. It was a little bit scary.
Yeah.
Speaking of the case, Rich, I want to touch on before we wrap things up a story I'd like you to clarify that came back to me. It was the year, I think 2018, Finton.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The Ras Dewi Sant, you entered for the full marathon. It was a terrible snow blitz we had that weekend. Finton on medical advice, and had to call the whole event off. It was, it was essentially a mini lockdown like we're in now, but with snow. You entered for the Ras Dewi Sant, so 26 miles, mostly on the coast path, and regardless of the event being called off, you went out and ran it anyway. Could you verify that story for me?
Well, did I run away? No, I ran. No, I think I met you, Finton, didn't I?
Yeah.
I ran from my house to St David's.
Right.
I intended doing a full 26 miles from Haverfordwest to Broadhaven, and then the 26 mile route into St David. But the snow was outrageous on the coast path. It was outrageous. There's massive snow dune. It was really quite dangerous. And I was having to cling onto the edge of these snow drifts, scramble up and over into fields and stuff to make it. And I was absolutely exhausted. And I had to cut it short. I didn't do the 26 miles. And I met you, Finn, today in one of the pubs where I was waiting for the transport back. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
But this year the event was called off because of storm, whatever.
Yeah.
Storm, wasn't it? And then I went to St David and then ran from St David onto the coast path by White Sands all the way to Fishguard, and that was a full 26 miles that I did in 4 hours, something with it.
I saw that. Yeah, I did see that on Strava, and you obviously chose wisely because you ran with the wind at your back. You know.
That was lovely, yeah.
So what's the, on a serious note, what's the mentality there, Rich, when that happens? Is it that this event I've been really looking forward to is being called off? I feel a bit empty now, I've got a massive void. I need to go and do it anyway. You know, I need my fix.
Yeah. Fraser, but bear in mind that I'd been training the week before quite hard.
Yeah.
I'd then rested for a good few days. So you know, what do they call it? Tapering. I've been eating well. I was fueled up, ready to go, and then it gets cancelled. You see, and I thought, well, I'm literally bursting with energy.
So you have to do something considering you've been tapering for that day.
Yeah, exactly. So I risk assessed it, and that's why I went in the direction that I did. I saw which way the wind was blowing, so far as I'd have to try really hard to get blown off the cliff that if I went in that direction, this, that, and the other. So you know, I did think about it. It wasn't just like, you know, yeah, I'm going for a run, whatever. So there wasn't a thought process in there, but I was bursting with energy, and I thought, no, I've just got to do something.
Just on going back to the Antarctic thing as well, just popped into my head. Just a random question: weight loss. What sort of weight do you come back from those places in?
Well, there you go. So I did lose quite a lot of weight, but mostly because we put an awful lot of weight on beforehand. Which was a great part of the expedition. So beforehand, so throughout December, I was just porking down whatever I wanted. It was brilliant. And so we went out with all old clothes, all tightly fitting, and then came back with our clothes sort of kind of hanging off us. We were burning around about 6,000 to 7,000 calories a day, and our ration packs were specialist ration packs that had about 6,000 calories in. But you know, it's really hard to eat all them calories from those ration packs.
Yeah.
And so we did lose quite a bit of weight.
Yeah.
But we wasn't unlike Scott's team, who unfortunately lost way too much weight and unfortunately perished from their poor diet. We were well fed by the British forces in their, you know, Arctic ration, full of the good stuff. So we were fine.
I've been down to. I don't know if have you been down to New Zealand? Scott's expedition.
I'd love to go there to the museum.
Yeah, museum. Yeah, I went there, and my only experience was that they've got this room in there. You go in there and they simulate a blizzard. So you're in there. You got one of these, you know, obviously the big coats on that they wear there and the expedition coats, and then they turn this blizzard on, and you've got an igloo that you've got to try and get in and hide from it. And I mean, 5 minutes of that was enough for me. Like, you know, I was. You know, you can't imagine the, you know, what sort of Scott went through, and you're looking at the kit that they would have carried and how they did things. It's really interesting. Yeah, definitely.
They had it pretty hard, didn't they? They had it pretty hard.
Yeah.
I mean, they were heading towards the South Pole and then stopping off to pick up rocks.
Yeah.
And then dragging them rocks, towards the South Pole. So no wonder they lost the race.
Yeah.
The Norwegians. Because they were making detours and picking up extra weight.
Yeah.
It's amazing what they did.
No, it was. It's really good story and sort of history and sort of looking at the hardships of people. But I wouldn't say you've had it easy. Mine does some interesting stuff there. I could talk all day about that. Yeah. So other than that then, and sort of depends what happens with the events this year, what have you got planned then at the moment? Anything... Anything long term? I mean, obviously the Pembrokeshire Coast Party, you're saying, is a goal there. Anything beyond that you're eyeing up?
I mean, I've had a pretty good career and I've done lots of things, and so bucket list. I don't have a particular bucket list, but I use that bucket to collect any opportunities that fall out of the sky. So I'm always on the lookout for new challenges, and then hopefully pick it up in that bucket and go and do it. So I've got nothing specific on. Yeah, so the future events have been canned for now, haven't they? So it's quite frustrating.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, tell me about it. So I tell you what, it's been very interesting, Rich. You know, it is a very hell of a story there, and I know, you know, a lot of sort of ultra runners and endurance athletes, you know, have been through hard times in one way or another, and they use these events to sort of challenge themselves and keep themselves on a sort of even keel type things. And you know, and you use the experiences that you get, don't you, from you know, those hardships you'd have had in the mountains or in the Antarctic, you know, to benefit you in the marathon, the Cote. But then that also transfers into life as well, doesn't it, to an extent? Would you?
Yeah, very much so, yeah. And I've spoken about my Northern Ireland, the Balkans and Afghanistan and stuff, yeah. So yeah, there's a lot to draw on to, isn't there? So
yeah.
I do need life experiences to benefit me in these tough races.
I mean, because obviously we're talking about anyone, you know, listening to this up to now who might be thinking, Christ, the army's the thing to go to, because, you know, this guy is he's been months in the Himalayas, he's gone to the Antarctic, he's done these things which people pay thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds to do, and you've gone there working. But the flip side of that is you've served active tours in, was it Northern Ireland, Balkans?
Middle East, yeah. So I've gone to lots of horrible places, but I have been to far more amazing places, and it's been thoroughly worth it. Yeah. And, so joining the mountaineering associations that you've got within the army, it's been amazing. It made it so worth it. Yeah,
that's brilliant. Praise.
And, I think I know the answer to this, Rich, but you strike me as the kind of guy for as long as you can compete and in events and keep going and be active. I assume you will do. There's no time limit in your career, I assume.
No, absolutely not. No, I can't see no end.
No, as Fintan says, it's been fascinating insight actually to someone who's had your experiences, and it shows how much obviously the physical side is so important, but it shows how important the mental side is as well. And you're able to draw on your experiences to get through races like, as Fintan's touched on, the marathon, the Cote and things like that, which to me, who's never done anything like that, seems just an incredibly daunting experience, you know, which I wouldn't even dream of taking to the start line of at the moment, you know. So it shows just how much of sport and at all levels is how psychology, how important it is. It's been really interesting hearing your experiences and how you.
Yeah, and Fraser, you're a good athlete. So I look forward to seeing you on these longer runs.
I haven't hit your distances yet, Rich, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, he's got the ability. He just won't push himself. That's all.
The problem I got is the cows keep getting in the way. You know, they keep crossing the road in the mornings. My hands are tied. You know.
You whinging about those cows when you try avalanches coming down on top of you, like
yeah, it puts it in perspective.
Yeah.
No, fair play, Rich. It's been great to talk to you. It's been fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for getting on here. That's lovely.
Hey, brilliant. Nice to see you. Anything you want to add, Rich, before we call it a day?
No, that's it. No, just keep training, doing whatever people are doing, and anything's possible.
Yeah.
It is all in the mind.
It is. All right. Well, enjoy your well, I wouldn't say your lockdown and your isolation. I'm sure you've been, as you say, you've been in far worse, but have a good one, right? And hopefully I'll see you in June.
Yes, I hope so too. Thank you so much for getting me on here.
Hey, no worries. Cheers, Rich. Hey, always good to speak to you.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, mate. Bye. You're right.
He's a very interesting individual, isn't he?
He is. Yeah. You're going back to your homeschooling now.
Well, yeah, it's maths now at 11 o'clock.
Oh, that's it.
But no, you know, that was actually quite the insight into what he's been through and the things he's done and how it helps him now in competing. I thought that's quite fascinating.
Yeah, and I think, you know, in this world we live in now, you can see photos of people on the mountains and people exhibitions, and, you know, you can pay to do these things and join these, you know, if you've got enough money, you can go and join those, but there's still really dangerous places to go, and the fitness levels, and, you know, and quite often, you know, people do these things without really being prepared or really knowing how tough they are. But you listen to his stories there of, you know, what the wind is like out there, and, you know, sleeping at night, and the difference of being caught in sort of avalanches or falling through ice crevices. You know, and there is no help. You are literally by yourself.
Yeah, you know, it puts into perspective, innit, when you see those B or C list celebrities prancing around in what do you call it, in the jungle, you know, and and the things they're missing, you know, the makeup and stuff from their daily life. But and you got people like that who have got a big background team that if anything does go wrong, they'll be bailed out straight away, you know. And then you speak to someone like him who obviously been through these things. Like you say, there's no bailout, is there?
No.
You know, it's you talk about on your own. It's you and your small little group against the world, and it's you can certainly see how he had the mental strength and the capacity to keep going for 3 days in the marathon to Cote, don't he?
Yeah. Has he talked you into doing that one day?
No, not yet. No, I'll to get a few more miles under my belt and that. I need the coast pass to reopen first.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be going blind, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm surprised he said that, mind, that he'd be happy to, you know, he's got enough miles in his legs already this year to go and do it. So, you know, it's still 2 months off, like, you know, it's, I don't know.
And with the pollen allergy as well. that's quite the, you know, that's quite the hindrance.
It is.
86 miles of the coast path, isn't it? But no, he was a great guest. Fair play.
Yeah. Nice one, right? So we'll see you next week. I'm sure I'll speak to you a couple of times during the week.
Will do. Stay safe.
Yeah, and we'll see who we get for next week. All right.
Will do.
Hey, catch you later. Cheers, man.
Ta-da.